2021 Sustainable Communities Program, Smart Cities and Mobility Innovations Program. And the program will provide resources for projects that support implementation of 3 Connect SoCal key connections, focusing on smart cities, job centers, GO zones, and shared mobility. This is a technical assistance program, so it's designed to minimize public agency staff time commitment. Applications are due by 5 p.m. on April 23rd. There is one-on-one coaching available for potential applicants, and 2 application webinars will be held on March 8th and April 5th prior to the April 23rd deadline. And secondly, just want to bring to your attention the SCAG Greenprint project. Greenprint is a strategic conservation mapping tool that highlights the benefits of natural lands, waters, agricultural lands, including access to parks and trails, habitat protection and connectivity, clean air, clean water, food production, and increased resilience to climate change. We started gathering input in spring of 2020. We anticipate Greenprint will be ready for stakeholder input and testing this spring, with launch planned for fall 2021. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Arnold. Appreciate the update. What's SCAG anyway? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We all know on this call. We all know. I saw a thumbs up earlier. I'm assuming that was in relation to the comments, but I didn't know if that was an attempt at raising a hand. No, just a thumbs up to the comment. Okay. And any other comments at this time?
I'm not seeing any hands raised.
Perfect. Well, then that takes us to additions, revisions. Would anybody like to see something moved around on the agenda? Not seeing anything. Okay. All right. Without anybody raising their hands, we're moving forward to item 6, and that's approval of minutes for January 25th, 2021.
I'll move the minutes.
I'll second Menifee.
Have a motion and a second. Does anybody wish to speak on this item?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a correction.
Yes, Mr. Hoffman.
In reference to attendance, as much as I love Berwyn, I was there on January 25th and not Berwyn.
Thank you. We will make that correction.
I think it was the hat.
It was the hat. I know, both black hats. But it was.
And you guys are good guys. I don't understand this.
It's a seasonal thing. It's a seasonal thing, okay? You'll see me wearing a straw here when it turns spring.
Awesome. Okay. Noted. Any other comments on this? Okay. Hearing none, we have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
District 1?
District 1, yes.
District 5?
Yes, and I was here during roll call. My other computer froze up, sorry.
Thank you. Corona? Eastville?
Aye.
Emmett?
Yes.
Harupa Valley? Harupa Valley?
Yes.
Thank you. Menifee?
Aye.
Marietta?
Yes.
Norco?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Wildemar?
Yes.
Thank you. The item passes.
Excellent. Okay, that brings us to item number 7, and that's an amendment to agreement with Parsons Transportation Group to provide professional services for the preparation of an environmental revalidation and plans, specifications, cost estimates, and related services for improvements on the State Route 71/State Route 91 interchange project, and that is going to be discussed by Mr. Bryce Johnston.
Okay, thank you. There's the slides. We have a few slides here, but good afternoon, commissioners. I'm Bryce Johnston. I'm a project manager for RCTC, and I'm here to present this presentation to amend the agreement with the Parsons Transportation Group to add funds so that we can complete the design and have funds for design support through construction for this 7191 connector project. Slide. So the general scope of this project is very basic. Scope is replace the existing single lane 25-mile-an-hour loop connector between eastbound 91 and northbound 71 with a 2-lane direct connector ramp. Additionally, we'll build an auxiliary lane on the eastbound 91 from Green River Road to east of the 7191 interchange. And we will realign the eastbound 91 on-ramp at Green River Road. That's some of the very basic scope items, and the estimated construction cost currently is $121 million. Slide. The project design started back in 2012 when it was anticipated to be constructed around the same time as the 91 express lanes. When full funding for the project looked less likely, we slowed down. We applied for competitive funds many times. Recently, we were successful in obtaining SB1 Trade Corridor Enhancement Program funds, which fully funds this project. With that, we've been finalizing the plans and other contract requirements and are currently less than 1 year away from advertising for a construction contract. On this table, you can see there were many amendments. Many of them were for extension of time. At this time, we're requesting an additional $1.29 million, which would bring the authorized amount up to $14.167 million. Slide. Because so much time has elapsed since the initial design was performed, there are new or changed environmental permit and design standards that must be met currently. Also, field conditions have changed to some degree since 2012, which must be reflected in the plans. This results in additional scope of work that was not included in the original design contract. Some of the major additional scope items include preparation of a supplemental environmental assessment for the Army Corps, supplemental noise analysis for Caltrans, new retaining wall designs due to new seismic design requirements, upgraded topographic surveys, right-of-way requirement maps being revised, processing approvals for traffic control for long-term closures, 55-hour closures. We added a revision to the design and a right turn pocket on the northbound Green River for turns onto the on-ramp. And there were revisions to some driveway designs, a median barrier, and in addition, a sliding barrier for emergency access for Army Corps for their facilities. So, slide. So generally, our project schedule shows us we want to be finished with our design very, very soon, within the next couple months, and most of the remaining effort to get us to advertisement later in the year is the environmental revalidation, which we'd like to get signed off by late summer, and the right-of-way certification in the fall. Our advertisements for bids are 2021, or the winter of 2021. Right now, it's in the month of December is our current schedule, and a construction award in the spring of 2022. It usually takes us 4 or so months after advertisement before we would award a contract. And then begin construction in summer of 2022, and about a 2-year duration of construction to summer of 2024. Slide. So that's the basic few slides we had for this amendment. So that concludes my presentation, and I'll make every attempt to answer any questions for this project.
All right, excellent. Thank you for the presentation. Exciting project, long overdue, but I'm happy we're moving forward with it. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Johnston at this time?
Commissioner Hoffman has his hand raised.
Yes.
I have a question on the Chino Hills State Park, the right of entry permit. Can you clarify what that is?
I'm relatively new to the project, but I know a little bit about the park. There's the Suket land in that vicinity, and we've been negotiating with them. I don't know specifically, and maybe Ann or Marlon could jump in, because like I said, I've only been on the project a couple months. But we are working right of entries out with the Suket property, which is adjacent to Chino State Park. Maybe that's what you're referring to.
All right, it's in your packet. That's why I was just curious what it was.
Any time we impact any of the Chino Hills State Park right away, whether it's a temporary construction easement, we have to get a permit from them. Marlon, do you know details on this specific permit? No, he doesn't. Okay. Right. We're in a bit of a transition here. This was Mark Lancaster's project, and he recently transitioned over to a new gig. So we can get that information for you and get it.
I'm just curious. I didn't know if we were putting an entryway off the freeway and that off this freeway into the park from there, or we're just trying to get part of the land. It's nothing like that.
No, we're not
Pete,
actually putting a new
shaking his
entry
head, so
into
that
the-
makes sense.
We're not putting a new entry into the park, as I understand it from our area. What I understand with the park is the adjacent Sukkot property. We've been looking at mitigation land from it, and then possibly transferring some of that land to the county or to the state park. But that has now since fallen away just in the last week. We're looking for mitigation land elsewhere. So there has been negotiation with the park.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. I don't need any further. I just saw it on there and wonder what it was. Thank you.
Excellent, good question. Does anybody else have any questions or comments related to this item?
Commissioner Speak has his hand raised.
Mr. Speak.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say, well, let's see, I think I might be able to clear up the state park issue. Anytime that you're touching any part of their property, and their property does come pretty close down to the 71 there, it's just, it's a simple encroachment permit. I don't think it's anything that we're going to be creating any new access or anything. So that'll be an easy thing. But I wanted to say, I'm very excited this is moving forward. This is a great thing for anybody that's traveling, the over 300,000 folks that travel on the 91 freeway going, going to Orange County and LA every single day. So I'm very happy this is pushing forward, and I'm excited to see it move on to the next step. Thank you.
I don't see any other hands raised. Do we have any members of the public that would like to speak on this?
Lynn, this is Brian Berkson. I'm sorry, I'm driving, so I can't grab my phone and do the hand raise, but I did have a comment.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask staff, you're asking for an increase or a change order, basically, and I understand that. You also said it was fully funded. Now, is this extra additional money also part of the fully funded, or is this coming out of any other funding source?
The new funds that we got through the Trade Corridor Enhancement Program, when we say fully funded, we're usually referring to the construction phase, but it provides us enough money to complete every aspect of this project. So we're able to get through the design phase with this. We're able to then get through the construction, and we did need a little bit more for the design support in construction as well. So it is fully funded now to handle every aspect of the project for us to complete.
Okay, that's great news. And as my other colleagues have spoken, I as well, I'm looking forward to this future addition. It's absolutely needed. It's one of the worst bottlenecks every evening on the way eastbound on the 91 coming back into Corona. So looking forward to it. And that's all I had. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Berkson. Mr. Zimmerman, did you have your hand raised?
I had it raised, but Brian asked the question that I was going to ask, had to do with fiscal impact, and if the funds were in SB1 or Measure A, that enough to cover the 1.3 million extra. So sounds like it is.
Great minds think alike. I like it.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have any other comments or the public that would like to speak on this item?
I'm not seeing any hands raised.
With that, then I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make the motion. Yeah.
Everybody.
I'll make the motion. Corona.
Okay.
You're at a second.
I give it to Ben. Why not?
Perfect. Love it. Roll call, please.
District 1,
District 1, yes.
District 5,
Yes.
Corona,
Aye.
Eastville,
Aye.
Hemet,
Yes.
Harupa Valley,
Yes.
Menifee,
Yes.
Marietta,
Yes.
Norco,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Wildemar.
Yes.
Thank you. That item passes.
Excellent. Thank you. That brings us to item number 8, and that's an agreement with Stantec Consulting Services Incorporated for preparation of the final environmental document, preliminary engineering plans, specifications, and estimates, and construction support services related to the Santa Ana River Trail project. Phases 2, 2A, and 3A in the Prado Basin. Mr. Lewis, I believe you're going to be presenting on this.
Thank you, and I have a presentation as well. Thank you and good afternoon, committee chair and commissioners. My name is David Lewis, Capital Project Manager, and it's my pleasure to present today and seek the committee's approval for a sole source agreement with Stantec Consulting Services for preparation of a CEQA document, preliminary engineering plans, specifications, and construction support services for the Santa Ana River Trail Project 1, phases 2, 2A, and 3A. Next slide, please. It is important to note a couple of key elements related to the Santa Ana River Trail. RCTC has been managing this project for the Park District since 2015. This project contains some of the last remaining segments in the 110 mile from the mountains to the sea. The multi-use trail will be ADA accessible and get to be enjoyed by bicyclists, pedestrians, and equestrians. Lastly, all of the commission's costs are reimbursed by the Park District. Next slide, please. This slide shows the previous Santa Ana River Trail alignment, and I realize it's hard to see the details on the map, so I just want to point out a couple of key things. First, phases 1 and 2, the red and yellow lines, were located close to the river, while the orange, blue, and purple segments were located at or adjacent to the Army Corps dikes. From 2015 to 2019, staff worked with the Park District's design consultant to develop the design and environmental document on these alignments. Unfortunately, in October of 2019, the Army Corps provided comments that precluded us from proceeding with these alignments. Portions of the trail were to be built on land recently designated by the Corps as mitigation land. Also, the red and yellow segments would have significant wetland impacts. And lastly, the Army Corps rejected the placement of the trail on top of the existing dikes due to changes in their policies. Thankfully, after months of coordination with the Army Corps, our team was able to successfully work with the Army Corps staff and their current designer, Stantec, to incorporate the SART phase 1, phase 4 trail, which is the orange trail segment, into their project. I'm happy to report that that project is scheduled to begin construction in fall 2021. Next slide, please. This slide shows the revised Santa Ana River Trail alignment and phasing, and I'd just like to highlight a couple key points. What was phase 1 and 2 is now phase 1, shown in green, and is being shifted from the river bottom to the existing streets to avoid the wetlands impacts. Phase 1 will be the subject of a future commission agenda item. As I just mentioned, phase 4, shown here in pink, will be constructed by the Army Corps this year. Phase 2, 2A, and 3A are the subject of this item and will complete the trail to the Prado Dam spillway. Phase 3 requires resolution of the question of how best to cross the spillway channel. We are working with the Army Corps and the Park District on this, and it will be the subject of a future commission agenda item. Next slide, please. Since receiving the Army Corps' significant comments in October of 2019, our teams have been working together to find a resolution and path forward that would be agreeable to all parties. It was decided that the best way to expedite the construction of the trail was to incorporate phases 2, 2A, and 3A of the trail into the Corps' current construction projects. In order to accomplish this, the trail must be designed and completed into the Corps' emergency spillway and auxiliary dike projects designed by June of this year. Stantec, the designer for the Corps' Alcoa Dike project, is experienced in the Corps' requirements, standards, and review processes, and has the capability to expedite the incorporation of the trail design into the construction packages. Stantec is uniquely positioned to quickly provide the design and environmental clearance required that can be delivered within this tight schedule. The Corps has agreed to an accelerated schedule for review of the plans to be prepared by Stantec. It's important to note also that the Park District and Coastal Conservancy, which is providing the funding for this project, have concurred with the approach presented today. And actually, they have directed us to go this route. Staff has reviewed the proposed cost of $821,144 and believes it is fair and reasonable for the scope of services provided. Once again, all of the project costs, including environmental, design, construction, and RCTC staff costs, are reimbursed by the Park District. The Park District has also concurred with the scope of work and budget. Next slide, please. It's been a pleasure presenting to this committee, and this concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Appreciate that. Long-term project that we've been collectively working towards. Does anybody have any comments or questions related to this item?
Commissioner.
Yes, yeah, I finally figured this out. I have it now in front of me as well. All right, but please, if there are others that you see, let me know. Right now I see 2 hands raised. Let's start with Commissioner Hoffman.
Thank you, Chairman. I do have, I read through the staff report, and I've been in favor of this project since the 80s when we first learned about it and put it together. As an equestrian, somehow or another, we're getting shortchanged on this whole process. There's nothing we can do about it, and that's a sad part. The Army Corps of Engineers is directing it, along with the Orange County Flood Control, of what we go and where we go. They took a good trail that was worked out by the TAC committee in the Parks Districts and changed it, taking us out of the riverbed as equestrians and putting us on the road. So some of the things I want to address on this, and I don't know Mr. Lewis, but Mr. Lewis, Hidden Valley Reserve is not in the city of Corona. It's near the city of Norco and borders in the city of Riverside. You call for a proposed trail of a 10-foot wide class 1 bike path and a 10-foot wide decomposed granite equestrian and pedestrian trail for a combination of 20 feet. But according to the standards of the Riverside County Trail, that should be a minimum of 28 feet width. And I don't see that in there. So in this plan, what are we going to use for our trail part? The 28, the 31 feet, there's several different deals. And if we're going to take our equestrians out of the riverbed, do we have any plan for vegetation, any trees, anything along this trail route? Because it will discourage equestrians up there. It's designed essentially for bike riders and pedestrians, but the equestrians, again, are being shortchanged. When I look at what you've done here along Rincon, I travel that route frequently. And you're going to put it on the west side of Rincon and then on the north end of Corridon up there. And I know that's a certain phase, but you don't have any right. There's not enough room in there to put that bike trail in there for future purposes. It's sad to see this as an equestrian because there's not enough easement on there, and eventually you have to buy the right of way. This plan, and I know it's in the later phase, it's going to go up into Stagecoach. There's not even the road to Stagecoach where the park is. There's no easement there. There's not even a trail there. The bicycle trail that goes through there now isn't even a class 1 trail. And you're going to throw it on city streets that aren't even wide enough to handle a class 1 bike trail. And that's Corridon that we have. So there's a lot of issues with this. I don't have a problem with 3A because that's going to happen. It's been there for a long time. But I would hope that when you look at this, you start thinking of the equestrians, because I think we're being shortchanged on this whole deal. And these bridges, we did a good job on the River Road Bridge by making it accessible for equestrians. We're doing a good job in the plan for the Hamner Bridge for equestrians. And I hope that kind of plan goes through on this other part. And I've talked to my deputy city manager on this, and he was part of the TAC team for the Riverside County trails. They haven't had a meeting in over 2 years when this was developed. So this is all coming out of the staff. And I look back at the minutes from the Riverside County Trails Commission. All they have is informative agenda meetings on this project. There's been no discussion, just informative. So somewhere along the line, like I said, I think the equestrian is getting shortchanged, and this is nothing more better for the bicyclists than that. But I'm going to leave it up to the rest of the commission. I'm not in favor of this. As an equestrian, I can't support something that doesn't support a true equestrian trail. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Mr. Lewis or anybody else, would you like to?
How about I'll start.
Okay.
Commissioner Hoffman, thank you for your comments. There are an awful lot of people frustrated about the Santa Ana River Trail. Not only the status of it, the delays in it, the changes to it, and that was part of the reason why County Parks asked RCTC to take over the project delivery aspect so we could help try to get it built because of our experience with dealing with permit issues. In terms of the alignment of it and the equestrian use, I don't know that Army Corps is ever going to change their position related to the locations and or the uses. Based on not only the feedback we've received, but I also understand, and I'm not sure if who from Norco is on. There's the committee of elected officials that's been meeting on this as well. This is probably the only alignment that's ever going to get through that area for the Santa Ana River Trail. Army Corps is not going to allow anything else. And just to be clear, RCTC is delivering this on behalf of County Park. So just from a staff perspective, it's not RCTC staff determining whether or not it's equestrian use or what the width of the trail is or where it goes. I just wanted to be clear about that. I understand your frustrations. There is a lot of frustration. And I just got some information that the next meeting of the local advisory board is on March 18th. And that's the elected official advisory board making recommendations and providing direction on how to proceed with these grant funds.
That's the Parks District, Ms. Mayor? That was their
No,
board?
it's the Santa Ana River Conservancy Local Advisory Board.
Okay.
So
And this is David. We have presented them this these alignments, and our parks has presented this to them, and they concurred with our approach moving forward. We ran into a lot of issues with the Corps putting the trail in the bottom of the riverbed. There's just a lot of significant impacts that environmentally we just could not clear. We certainly recognize the equestrian aspect. We tried really hard for several years to get that alignment cleared in the river bottom, and we just ran into so many hurdles that it just caused us to where we are today. So I hope that we can ease some of your concerns, but that we tried everything we possibly could to fit the equestrians through this tight area. But there's just so many constraints through here, it proved very difficult.
Well, and and part of this is that advisory board was supposed to be contacting my city and my city staff. And I read their minutes and I read everything. They haven't done so. I just talked to my city manager, my department, Public Works, who is in charge of our trails, along with our deputy city manager who sits on that board, and they have not been contacted. And that's the sad part. I mean, this not only affects me, it's our city, but the equestrians in Harupa Valley and Eastvale. So it affects us. And so that's, we haven't been part of that discussion.
We do have a couple of other commissioners that would like to speak. I appreciate your comments, Mr. Hoffman, and it's good to reflect on that. We have two. We'll start with Commissioner Vinton, followed by Commissioner Speak. Mr. Vinton, please.
Mr. Chair, one quick question. Typically, we're using 10% for contingency. This one's 15%. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah. Well, this is a smaller contract, and typically we run into a lot of hurdles with the Army Corps, and we wanted to give us a little bit of an extra buffer to accommodate any other hurdles that we run into. The Army Corps process is very difficult to navigate. A lot of different review cycles, and we tried to iron out the kinks before we got there, but it just gives us a little bit more room, I think, to clear this, moving forward. So we went with a little bit higher contingency. I hope that answers your question.
Understood. Yes, it does. Thank you, David. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had a quick question about the alignment that goes on Butterfield. That road is a raised road with pretty steep sides on both sides. I guess it acts as kind of a dike. Is the construction in that area, are we going to add a 20-foot section on the one side, or is it going to be in the ditch?
No, it's going to be adjacent to the dike. It'll be, I think, a 20-foot wide, and then separated. The equestrians will be separated by decomposed granite. So it'll be separated between the equestrians and the bikes.
Do you know on what side that will be, either on the airport side or the park side?
It's going to be on the airport side. It'll be on the inside.
Okay. All right. And then you said that the Army Corps didn't want there to be the trails on the dikes, but they're allowing 4A to be on the dike?
No, 4A is going to be to the side, off the side of the dike. It's not going to be on top of the dike. Army Corps had a change in their policy within the last 6 months that they're not, according to them, they're not allowing public use of trails on top of their auxiliary dikes or any future use. So trying to work within that.
And do we ever get any, listen, I get that the ship has sailed and this project has been worked on for, many years. And I don't want to do anything that slows it down, because I think it is important. This section's been one of the ones that's drug out for a long time. But did they give any indication on what's the driver behind that? Because frankly, these, dikes have been used for years to travel on. I guess it's a security issue. What's the driver?
Mr. Speak, that's a great question. We've pushed back on that quite a bit. I think it has to do with security. Maintenance is a big issue. Maintenance of it, security of the dikes and their facilities. I think it's a change in management. I think it's a variety of issues, that they have there. So that's probably the best answer I could give you at this point.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Excellent. Ann, I believe I see your hand raised.
Yeah. I just wanted to add on the subject about where the trails are with respect to the dikes. Their change in policies has been the subject not only of some very significant staff-to-staff discussions, but Congressman Calvert has personally convened meetings with Army Corps staff and Army Corps officials to talk about this. And So we've had significant engagement at very high levels, and we have been unable to get Army Corps to change their position. So it's been the subject of some pretty intense conversations. Hence the alignment we have now. And the fact that Army Corps is willing to let some of the construction be done concurrent with their work is actually a good sign that at least we're making a bit of progress.
Thank you, Ann. That makes sense. I have a meeting with the congressman next week, so I'll make sure I thank him and see if there's anything else we can do. Thank you.
My guess is he'll have some commentary for you.
I I have no doubts.
I don't see anybody else's hand raised, but Lisa, do we have any members of the public that are wishing to speak or make comments on this item?
I am not seeing anybody now.
And anybody else, speak up if you're not able to find the raise your hand. Okay, I'm not seeing anything. So that brings us to the part where I'm going to ask for a motion.
I'll make the motion. This has been right with one comment that I was in New Orleans a few years ago walking the Army Corps dike that leads right up to their building in New Orleans. And it's just frustrating that they are now, they'll allow that there where obviously they've had some problems with dikes, but they won't allow it here. It's just very frustrating. But and Ted, thanks for all your comments.
Motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second, Corona.
Speak. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
District 1,
District 1, yes.
District 5,
Yes.
Corona,
Aye.
Eastville, Eastville,
Aye.
Hemet,
Yes.
Harupa Valley,
Yes.
Menifee,
Aye.
Marietta,
Yes.
As
Norco,
a matter of principle, no.
Harris,
Aye.
Wildemar.
Yes.
Thank you. That item passes.
Excellent, thank you. Ted, if there's any way we can work together to help, move this in that direction, let's get together and let's talk about it. I agree that I want to see this project move forward, but I also would love to see your concerns addressed as best as we can. So let's do a sidebar conversation later on. If that works.
Thank you, Clint.
All right, excellent. So that brings us to item number 9, and that is commissioners and the staff report. Let's start with staff. Do we have any reports?
Yes, very briefly, commissioners, I sent out an email about 10 days ago regarding the ramp up for the I-15 express lanes. The customer service center in Corona is scheduled to open to the public this week. So we are still on schedule for that. And I believe that is on Thursday. So we will start opening Riverside Express accounts. So previously customers were all from 91 express lanes, but for the first time, we will now have Riverside Express accounts being issued out of our customer service center. So that opens on Thursday. I'll continue to keep you ramped up. This starts the sequence of events as we lead into opening, and we will keep you posted. So stay tuned. There's striping done on I-15 last week as well in the southbound direction. So you'll continue to see some ramp work out there, and I'll keep you posted.
Excellent, great update. Does anybody else, either staff or commissioners, do you have any comments, something you would like to share with the group?
This is Brian Berkman. Just quickly to ask Ann, you're giving us some good news about opening the 15, but do you have any kind of anticipation on what the date of the opening will be?
I do not have an exact date yet. I was hoping to be able to give you one soon. I think it's fair to say within the next 4 to 5 weeks is what we're shooting for. I'll give you an example. We're still waiting to hear the impacts. Some of our signs were coming from Texas. And so there were some significant weather delays in Texas. So I haven't heard the details on what that impact will be, but we were promising the spring of 2021, and I think it will be the spring of 2021, but it'll be early spring.
Do you know if if both sides will open at the same time, or is it going to be kind of a staggered opening?
I think both at the same time. Michael, do you have anything different?
Yes, Commissioner. It's scheduled that both sides will open at the same time, both northbound direction and southbound direction, and for the full length of the facility, just under 15 miles.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Excellent. Commissioner Zimmerman.
Thank you, Chair Lorimore. Real fast, just an announcement, and I know Supervisor Hewitt knows this because he was part of the ceremony, but the Salt Creek Trail is now officially open. It's a 16-mile trail that goes between Menifee and Hemet. There was a 4-mile segment and another smaller segment in Hemet, but the 4-mile segment is now open through Menifee. It basically bisects the city, and it's a wonderful asset. I know RCTC was a part of it. That's why I'm announcing it here. There was CMAQ funds, and the county's Parks and Open Space District was kind of behind it, and it's a long project running, but anyway, just very happy to say that it's now open and residents are enjoying it. It's a class 1 trail that does allow equestrians as well as bikes and pedestrians. So anyway, there's my update.
Excellent. Appreciate that. I don't see any other hands, but does anybody have any additional comments before we wrap up? Not hearing anything. I appreciate everybody taking the time today. That brings us to our adjournment. The next Western Riverside County Programs and Projects Committee meeting is scheduled to be held at 1:30 p.m. on March 22nd, 2021. We're going to be doing it, I believe, I have it differently here, but we're going to be doing this the same format, right?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Well, see you all on Zoom again soon. Take care.
Thank
This
you.
meeting's
Have a good
adjourned.
night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.